many of y'all live in Colorado? I don't think you can. We'll say maybe. But for those of you that don't live in Colorado, you're probably not as familiar with this big, awesome line of white mountains behind me. For most of you that are residents here, you probably are kind of familiar with it. It's the Continental Divide. Does anybody know what the Continental Divide does, other than dividing the continent?
Watershed.
Ooh, divides the watershed. So that means all the precipitation that falls on this side of those mountains, any of that snow, rain, ice, sleet, any of that stuff, is ultimately going to melt or run off through tributaries and join Clear Creek down here. Clear Creek will eventually run to the South Platte River, empty its waters there. South Platte will run to the Missouri River, ultimately dumping to the Mississippi, ultimately to the Gulf Coast, feeding into the Atlantic Ocean. So any of that water starts here, heads there. So right about now, some of the water that I've been rafting on all season, or earlier in the summer, is making its way on down to the Gulf of Mexico right now. So it's kind of cool that we get to see the heart of that process, and we get to see the good things and the bad things. Idaho Springs was founded through the gold rush. Right now, there are about 650 people that live inside the city limits of Idaho Springs. In 1906, there were about 96,000 people that lived inside the city limits of Idaho Springs. There were 342 operational gold mines across the hills here, a lot of which you could see the tailings in the hills. We call those slag piles. The trash rock they pull out when they yield the gold. What they do with that gold, they get it through the process of arsenic, through cyanide, through mercury, things that will leach that metal off of the stone and leave all that trash rock. So anywhere you see one of those big sand dunes, it's actually a bunch of bleached rock tainted with chemicals. So what happens when you have rain and snow, precipitation that melts off down here, what it's going to do is it's going to filter through those piles and ultimately run down the hills and join that watershed. Now, when it rinses all that stuff down, it kind of contaminates. So there's a lot of fish here, a lot of great fun to fish for them here. But you don't really want to eat the brown trout or the cutthroat trout that come out of the waters around here, because you're likely to get some sort of mercury or arsenic. You don't want that. But when Argo, which is the largest of the mines here,